Jester versus Necromancer. What is better? These are the most recently added towers in TDS, and they both have pretty cool features. Exploding graves, poisoned zombies, executioner skeletons, and bullies. While all of this is funny to watch, how do they perform? Changes per level, new abilities, strategies, then a side-by-side comparison is how we will rank Jester and Necromancer. 18,000 gems to get your hands on Necromancer, 2,250 to place, and at level 0 its stats make a DPS of 5.3, worse than a level 0 minigunner. Base hidden detection and 2 graves that spawn our first skeleton with a whopping 20 HP. Total of 3,000 cash for level 1, DPS is now 6.6 DPS, however the graves don't change. 5,000 for level 2, its DPS shoots up to 10 and that's par with the level 0 minigunner, and now makes one more grave which spawns British skeletons that have 20 HP and 18 DPS. Level 3 is a total of 15,000 cash, its DPS goes up to 25 and gets more range. Necro's grave now spawn 2 new skeletons, a knight with 65 HP and 38 DPS, and a giant skeleton with 250 HP. These 2 new skeletons are improved versions of the previous 2. Level 4 flies up to $45,000, the DPS is 50 and is now about the same DPS as level 3 minigunner. It attacks 4 enemies, yes, that's 50 DPS per enemy. Graves now spawn an executioner skeleton with 3000 HP and an axe that does 50 damage and is thrown every 4 seconds, and hollow guards with 750 HP, and the graves that now explode do 75 splash damage. If Necro is hitting 4 enemies at max level, then its DPS is 200, which is very good. However, every other level seems to be overshadowed by low level minigunner. So this means it is only really worth it at max level because of how many enemies it hits and the strong skeletons that spawn. The best strategy is to have 3 Necros because when you use the ability, Necro stops using its staff, resulting in a massive DPS loss. And because you need to use 3, it's very expensive, which makes it a good late game tower. However, Jester is a great early game tower, only having to beat Act 3, level 0 is $500 and 1.3 DPS with lead and hidden detection, but just has fire bombs that do 1 damage per second. Level 1 is a total of $600, 2 DPS. Level 2 is $1,250, 5 DPS, better fire bombs that now last 5 seconds, and ice bombs that slow enemies a little, but it's not worth noting its damage and it gets sad with a hat. Level 3 is a total of $3,350, 10 DPS, slightly better fire bombs, but now has poison bombs that make poison puddles that do 10 damage when enemies are standing in them. Level 4 is $9,350 with 32 DPS, 10 more than level 2 minigunner. The fire and poison bombs get slightly better, both getting to 12 damage, but poison lasts longer, but is way better than fire. Why? Because Jester now throws confusion bombs that make enemies go backwards for 3 seconds, which leads to a very broken strat, being able to place a bunch of poison gestures and a couple confusion gestures, making them run back over the poison already there. You can see how insane this is when you get 8 gestures, along with a few more people. You can imagine. But how does this strat hold up against Necros? Both towers perform at different parts of the game, so it's complicated to judge. So we will go over early, mid, and late game use. In early game, I would use Jester, and honestly, I would only use it for early game and farm if others are doing early game. Necro is out of the question. If you're planning on getting it, you should farm early. Mid game Jester is still viable and can carry you to late game, but at this point, I would still be farming or getting minigunner / excel. The late game is finally where Necro comes in, but you shouldn't use it alone because its placement limit is 3. Jester still works as a late game tower depending on the game mode if you use the poison confusion strat and maybe some ice bombs. Fire bombs are mid though. I would suggest even getting a splash tower in the crowd, like maybe mortar. And finally, what would I rank these towers? Well, I would certainly say the Jester's an S tier tower. Me and my friends beat Fallen with it alone, and Necro is maybe a B tier tower. That's being kind of generous. You can replace it with Excel or minigunner. It's really not all that special, it's just funny to use. Thank you because you all watched to the end. Liking and subbing would greatly help the channel as well. Come back to the channel anytime. Bye. That was light work.
Wait, that was actually pretty quick too. What the fuck?